Hello, everyone, and you're very welcome to the Arsenal versus Manchester United reaction show. Well, everyone, as we all know, it has been Arsenal 3, Manchester United 2. And here to get into the nitty-gritty of things with me is Sir Pat Lawless and the master of the watch-along with Mr. B, OMONDI Juma. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I really enjoyed the game. High-level stuff. It's great to see Arsenal, Man United again playing high-level football, tactical football. Credit to both managers. They both built good teams who can be really effective at what they do. Arsenal with their attacking sort of play, and us in various types of play that we're learning now. We're getting masters in all sorts of styles of football, whether it's countering, whether it's defending, whether it's soaking things up, whether it's third man runs, whatever we do, we're getting better and better as the season goes along. So I'm really pleased. It's an enjoyable game of football. Just gutted about the result at the end.
Absolutely. And Pat, how about you? How are you feeling, buddy?
Complete mixed emotions, lads. Like Mondi said, I hear the same thoughts. I really enjoyed the game. If I'm sitting there and my hands are rubbing and I'm scratching the back of my head and I'm nervous, that's a good game of football. You know, we might have been on the back foot a little bit more than I would have expected, but it was a good game of ball. Was it a fair result in the end? Maybe. Let's get into it. Let's have a chat about it.
Well, from my own perspective, I started this game with a full set of black curly hair, and now look at me.
You're like Lionel Richie you were before the game started.
Yeah, I had the flowing locks. I was ready for my moment in Cosmopolitan, which all the models.
Cancel that appointment.
Yeah, cancel that. But Monday, I know you love this piece, so over to you, buddy.
Yeah, guys, as you know, the Man United Agenda, we're sponsored by GMS, that's Global Mapping Surveys, and they assist architects, property developers, and construction companies all over the country. They offer a wide range of services such as setting out topographical surveys, 3D laser scanning, and monitoring. And check the link in the description, guys. That's GMS. Let's go.
Absolutely. And Monday, as always, the voice of GMS here on the Man United Agenda. But Monday, I know there's some people here already starting to filter in their comments. I see Edward and Mr. Mbappe. But and here's on just as we speak of the people in the comments, Emma K pops in as well. So you're all very welcome. We were literally drawing with 30 seconds to go. It was a fine game. Yes, indeed. Edward French saying, agreed, Mbappe sat back and played for the draw. Big mistake. I know Monday will have something to say about that. And Mbappe saying, we threw away the game. So now, let's get into the game summary. Now, just briefly, obviously, we had to make an adjustment to our lineup as Casemiro was suspended. Scott McTominay came in and I presume you're of the opinion that he didn't do a whole pile wrong in his position of the play. But what I do want to touch on is Mr. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We saw him get beaten at the back post. Now, obviously, that's something that tactically, if he's weak in that area, that we can work on. But by contrast, we saw an absolute wondrous tackle that any other defender probably would have fouled and given away a penalty. So how much of a contrast is there in the weak points of his game and these strengths that we see back-to-back games? He makes these absolute phenomenal tackles out of nowhere.
Pat, go ahead, Pat. I've just done the game.
6 months ago, Aaron Wan-Bissaka couldn't kick snow off of a rope. Okay? Now, if we're going to judge him on one mistake that he made during this game, this is something that Eric Ten Hag is going to work on with him and make sure that he keeps his concentration and his focus for 90 minutes, not just for intervals during the game. I thought besides the goal, which we're going to get into shortly, I thought he was electric. He was in there. He was getting stuck in. His challenges were timed to perfection. There was players that would try and pull them challenges off at that stage of the game and give away penalties. So he made amends for me, even though he's at fault for the first goal. That's the bottom line.
Pat, the thing for me with Wan-Bissaka is you're talking about the contrast between two sides of the game, the positive side of his game, and maybe something that's been highlighted in the past about the negative side, which is maybe his reading the game and ball watching, that kind of thing. And that's where he got caught out today. Magnificent up against Martinelli. Martinelli is one of the most dangerous guys one-on-one in the league. He will run you. He's got the pace. He's got to burn. And they were looking for overlaps on Wan-Bissaka today. And unfortunately, they kept him to play it back home because Wan-Bissaka was always with you. In the first couple of minutes, he gave Martinelli the opportunity. Martinelli was on the touchline, halfway line, and he started to push and go. And Wan-Bissaka just ran with him. Yeah, you want to go? You want to go? Just invited him to go. Said, you want to go? I'm going to chop you, get the ball, and there's nothing on, you know? So after that, Martinelli kept having to play it home, play it safe, you know, because getting in those one-on-one situations is difficult. What you have to do, you have to get out to him early as possible. But when we're playing compact and shuffling over, sometimes it's difficult. So as a unit, you have to get back up as well. So it's not just about Wan-Bissaka, it's about the team in front of him to back him up and get double up on Martinelli if you can. They want to try and double up on him, which is what happens at the end of the game for the goal, which is really unfortunate because he had no choice. Josh Allen was coming down more narrow, and then for once, the inverted fullback came across, came wide for the overlap. But as regards to the goal, yeah, he was ball watching. It was the corner, which we go to the goal wide. That was a mistake. The game, his distribution, messed it up in the first place, played it wide to Wan-Bissaka. By the time he got at his feet, Martinelli was right in his face and closed it down. They pinched the ball, end up in the corner. And in the second phase of the corner, Wan-Bissaka's marking Gabriel, touch tight, but he also saw that Eddie was there too. So he's had two man. It's right, there's two. But I'm touching Gabriel because he's the bigger man. And then he started ball watching for 5 seconds. In those 5 seconds, Eddie's blindsided him the wrong side and got in front of him. And then I was still disappointed because the ball's coming across to that. He's standing there waiting for it to come. You got to go and attack it. So there's the contrast for me. One side he's good at man marking and getting close, as we've seen. It's visible to the eye. The second part is not so visible. Oh, he's conceded a goal. But when you break it down, it's ball watching, switching off for that split second. This game is high-tech chess. We need to be mentally on the ball for the whole 90 minutes plus whatever they give you as well. And that's when he switched off for 3 or 4 seconds. Eddie was gone.
Amondi, can I ask you a question? You're a defensive man yourself. Is this something that Eric Ten Hag can knock out of his game?
It's not to say he's not fast enough to keep up with forwards or anything like that. He is. That's something that if you weren't physically fast enough, you're not going to improve his speed. That's something you have to go to, I don't know, take some PEDs or go to or play for Liverpool Football Club, you know, and get asthma or something to improve. This is something about decision making and concentration. And back post, there's certain situations there where he was hitting the back post and he did deal with it. But it's going to be difficult because you have to scan everything. He's scanning Gabriel. Imagine this, you've got to scan Gabriel for the second phase from the corner, Gabriel, and you got Eddie. So you're like, right, and then you also got to watch the play, and then you also got to watch the line because he was the guy who played Eddie on for the goal at the end. We thinking, oh, maybe it's offside, but he was the guy who played Eddie on because he didn't push up. Lack of concentration again. I'm not dissing Wan-Bissaka. So there's 3 things he has to do there: watch the line, watch the play, keep an eye on Gabriel, and keep an eye on Eddie as well. What he should have done is said, "I'm dropping off. You come in, take Gabriel." That's what I would do. Pass it off. He's not done that because everything's happening so fast, you know? So there's a lot to take in. But as a professional player who plays every day, who goes training every day, and that's their life, we can sit here as pundits and say, you should do better. And there is, to answer your question, Pat, there is room for improvement. He should try and improve that area of his game.
Very interesting points there, gentlemen. I am going to try something a little bit different before we get into the nitty-gritty of some of the goals. There's a tweet here from Samuel Lockhurst, a well-known journalist that writes for various publications. He's saying, same mistakes repeated today by Manchester United, invited opponents onto them whilst defending. What could have been a positive result? Got what they deserved. They've not backed up the post-derby giddiness. A regressive week is his opinion.
Sorry, this fella writes for the MEN. Right, these are the next level above talk sport when it comes to journalism. That's just to get Manchester United fans backs up. That wasn't how the game went at all today. We were a good team. We played well. I think we were missing Casemiro. That's the difference between the Manchester United side and the Arsenal side today. And the difference between Man United winning the league and losing the league. We don't have a strong enough, big enough squad in quality that if we lose one player, we can just slot another one in there. So, no, Samuel, I don't agree with that comment at all.
I don't, just summarize that comment again for me, please, because I was let's read this out. Let's really break this down, please, Rebel. If you wouldn't mind just going that again.
No, brother. He's basically saying Manchester United have repeated the same mistakes again today. They've sat back and got exactly what they deserved, and it could have been a positive result if they had not. A regressive week for Manchester United since the derby, he's saying.
Right. Because of that comment, I'm going to look up Samuel Lockett and see what level of football he's played at. Because clearly, I don't think the man's played football in his life to be talking like that. Arsenal have a fantastic football side. Man City, we play against them the last decade. They dominate the play. We've got good results against them. They might have a lot of possession and all that kind of thing. It's about switching on and keeping that concentration. To say that they let us down, or people are saying, I'm hearing people saying that we've allowed them to attack us. I mean, they attack you anyway. Look how they're moving up every side in this Premiership. Every side. This is top level football in the whole country, maybe in the whole world. This is top league. And this side are able to go and walk through most teams. Granted, they haven't played City yet, but they beat Liverpool up. They beat us up at Old Trafford periods of times, But it's just a case, we expected that. Don't walk into this game thinking we should be bossing them 50-50 possession. There's strengths and weaknesses to teams. It's that their weaknesses, they don't have the ability to defend maybe because they make sacrifices with their play by putting players overloads and that kind of thing, where we've got the ability to break that with players like Eriksen and Bruno. Bruno's fantastic today, for example. So when you say, we were sitting back or anything, BULLOCK. I don't want to say it, but that's what I feel about that sort of comment. And people saying that sort of thing, it's just as Pat said, probably looking for headlines and not actually giving Arsenal credit, two, giving us respect to say that we wouldn't do that intentionally. Go and ask the manager. If you're a good journalist, go and speak to Erik ten Hag in a press conference and let him tell you what the truth is about whether we decided to sit back.
Can I tell you what Samuel Lockhurst is doing right now? He's sitting back in his armchair, wherever he is in his house, with a big fat smile on his face, because the tweets and the likes are just flying in after that. Angry Manchester United fans, blah, 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 blah. And that's all he wants. He wants attention. Publicity wants.
Just by context, I have two more items from the great Twitter machine to throw out there regarding today's game. Luke Shaw first, a quote from him directly after the game. In the second half, we deserved that. We were a bit passive and let them control the game completely. Fair assessment?
No. I think it's individual mistakes. Sorry, Pat. I'm going to take this one. Individual mistakes, I believe. There's situations. It's about situations and making the right decisions and being responsible. Anthony, for example, not dissing any player. I thought we played all right. But there's times, situations where we got to keep the ball. McTominay, towards the end there, when it was 2-2, he had an opportunity to break. We were under a lot of pressure. He had an opportunity, relief. He's been passed a decent ball. All you have to do is control it and keep the ball. And then somehow he lost the ball. And then it got turned down. We didn't get the ball back for another 5 minutes. I was there like, my gosh, McTominay, because of that. Now, if I was a player in that team, I'd be fuming. McTominay, what the bum the hole are you doing there, bro? Because you giving the ball away there. We had a chance to get some release here. So that's McTominay. Anthony, one-on-one situation with Shevchenko in the box. There's an opportunity there. Get a corner. Slow it down. You got opportunity to get a foul. Go down. Stay down. Slow it down. Slow it down. It's about in-game management, So it's not a team. We don't plan to do that. It's just the individual. Rashford was one-on-one in the box as well with the fullback. He didn't do the right decision. He made the wrong decision, ran into the player. And suddenly it's like, oh, God, you can't afford to do that. You can't afford. These are situations that other teams or more experienced players will do better than us. And that's a mental thing as well. Think about the game. Have that good in-game management. And do it like that. I understand where Shaw's coming from, but as collectively, you don't decide to do that. But there's situations where you can get yourself back in the game by getting your foot on the ball, like we did in the last 15 minutes of the first half, where we were under it, and then suddenly we got a foot on the ball, slowed it down, and started to play our pace and camp them back in their half.
Pat, over to you.
Granit Xhaka, Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka. Tortured us in that midfield. They were fantastic. So for anybody who said we sat back, absolute BS. All right. Now, could you imagine if we had that man Casemiro in that midfield today, right, beating his chest like he did in the last game, dictating the play, breaking up the play? That would be the difference. That's the levels. As good as Scott McTominay played today, it was the levels that he just doesn't have that extra X factor that Casemiro would bring, and that was all we lacked today. We didn't let them come at us. They just had more in their locker than we had, And that's it.
Do you know what? It's interesting you mentioned Casemiro, Pat, because it's like you were reading my mind, because the last tweet that I had to bring you actually concerns Mr. Casemiro. And this opinion is that Eriksen's weaknesses were exposed today due to the lack of having Casemiro next to him. And McTominay did very little in and out of possession. Manchester United missed the big man. It was so obvious. Massive downgrade without him. Thoughts, gentlemen?
I'll let you go there, Amandi, since I finished last.
Okay, right, yeah. So with that, massive downgrade without Casemiro. It's a system. People got to come in and fill that hole. I thought Tommy done his job. It's not like sometimes I felt he was went out too far, broke his block, for example, to go and reach a player when it's just got played around him and suddenly had to get back. He can do that because he thinks he's got the legs to do that. But sometimes you're on the wrong side of play all of a sudden, and that can give them an advantage with the overload, for example. And there's also, he had a difficulty as well, because sometimes Shevchenko was coming into midfield. It's like, do I pick him up or not? You know, so these, as Pat was saying, these guys, the guys they have in midfield, this is their strength. This is what they play to. This is something you have to deal with. You can't hide from it. You have to deal with it. Otherwise, you get overrun. A lot of people talking about we're going to lose 3-4-0 today, you know, but it wasn't the case, because I thought tactically we managed the game really well against the top side. So that's why I'm looking at positive. I'm not looking at negatives here. McTominay, if you're comparing it to Casemiro, I like McTominay. I think he gets around the pitch really well. The only thing is, like I just said there was an opportunity in the second half where he could have kept the ball and you know, the ball got the pressure off us for a minute, and he wasn't able to do that. So that's all. That's his ball on the ball stuff. The off the ball stuff, I think's impressive enough for me. I will take that all day. He wins his headers, he gets back in the box. I see he made about 2-3 clearances today from balls getting delivered in, same balls that were delivered in for the goal, but we cleared them time and time again. What you're supposed to do, you know. And then he's getting body there. He's a big guy as well. And obviously, if you stand up and see him, you play it back, because you think, right, I'm not going to try and get around him. He's too big. So as for position-wise, okay. Couple times on the ball today, bit poor.
And we can't knock the fella for standing in the boots of Casemiro, who is a legend. 27th minute, Anthony squares the ball across the box. Scott McTominay takes a shot. Really tests Ramsdale. Like, you can't ask any more of Scott McTominay for what he did. Do we need an upgrade on him? Quite possibly. Did he do a bad job today? No. So I've nothing negative to say about Scott McTominay. As in a bad sense.
I'm going to embody my inner Bill O'Hurley for a minute and say, okie doke there, so now, lads. Given then that what we're saying about the system of play, are we deficient because of the fact that we're not utilising players in rotation in order to ensure that they're up to speed in match day situations? Because we have been relying on the same 11, and while consistency breeds results, when we miss some players then in that machine, do we fall short?
Good question. It's a squad game these days, and I think, as the manager said, you need to win every game. That's what he's trying to do. And when the squad is kind of weak, if you're saying, mentioned contrast earlier, contrast between Casemiro and McTominay. If Casemiro's up here and a world-class player, maybe McTominay's like a mid-table Premiership player, or maybe a bit higher than that, I believe. So that's the difference in contrast. And if you want to win every game, you play your better side player, as we've seen all season. You're talking about not being rusty, for example. You're playing as a professional player. You're playing. We can't have any excuses out here. You should be able to come in and do the job. And I think McTominay done a reasonable job and played to his level, I felt. And just unfortunately, I'm not blaming him. He done a job. It's just that on the ball, I think Casemiro, as we've seen, which he's got more in his locker, his distribution, his passing, he's getting in the box and scoring goals. You know, he's got a bit more in his locker than McTominay. Sometimes players can get pigeonholed, which I don't like a lot. Oh, he's a DM, which means he can only do A, B, C, and D, and we can't expect him to be good on the ball. That's what's happening with McTominay. He's been pigeonholed as a player, just does a good job, physically strong, but it's accepted that he's not very good on the ball. That can't be accepted. When you get the higher levels, suddenly a man comes in who is a CDM, but like Casemiro, who could also play Regista or somewhere else, because he's got that ability to do that. He's got more to his game. He's got more in his locker, and he can score, he can pass, he can do a lot more than these guys. So it's really, sometimes it's crucial, isn't it, to have these attributes. But this is where you have to get better players in at the highest level. But I do think sometimes when you are rusty or someone has to come in, you do need to rotate. And that's what a good working squad is. Youth experience, someone coming in. We've got 5 options for 5 subs as well. That does also increase the chance, Rebel, for players to come on, even if it's 20 minutes, and then get some run out and training and get them going. So that's for the manager to sort out, to get these guys fresh and fit and ready to go if called on.
Oh, that's I don't look. There's a big difference between the Manchester United squad now and a title winning team. If Man City, for example, all of a sudden decide, do you know what, I'm not going to play Riyad Mahrez. Who do you play in the position? Actually, we just might put in Phil Foden, Gundogan, Grealish, Kevin De Bruyne. They just have endless supply of high quality players who can just step in there. Now, at the moment, we have players who can step in and do a job, but not maintain the quality of the previous person who was playing. And that is their problem at the moment.
Very good point, Pat. Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity, Pat, to take a water break and let Monday go through some comments for us, because I know there's some vibrant thoughts on the game at the moment.
Most certainly. So, Cormac, how you doing? So, Rashford's goal was phenomenal. Give him a new contract, whatever he wants. Thought he played really well, considering the informed Arsenal away. We are looking good, lads. So, there's a positive comment. Big up to Maguire. Cormac Maguire, that is. Edward saying here, I do feel before Arsenal's second goal, De Gea may have come and collected the ball, which means Saka wouldn't have the chance, but he must be given full credit for that goal. It was a great goal by Saka.
Sorry, Amandi, for stopping you there. Did Edward French become a member there recently?
If you did, Edward, you got a little symbol by your thing, yeah? Congratulations, well done, Edward. Welcome to the Man United agenda. You'll be getting the perks very soon. Trust me about that. Big up to Legend as well, who's got the real Ronaldo on his profile picture. It's a beautiful game. It was a beautiful game, definitely. Emma Kay saying Arsenal are literally top of the league and had to score in the last 30 seconds to win it against a side that everyone assumed would barely get top 6 this season. That's us she's talking about. Legend again saying we're not meant to be top, to everyone's thinking. I want to say hi to Column. Shows how far we come. However, just not enough today. Big for sure. Hi to Matthew Bassett as well. Disappointment result. But look for improvement from last season. Most definitely. Difficult to take the loss, says UK Strange. Lacked in midfield today badly. Just going to run through. Big up to Stumpy Candletop. He's enjoying the discussion. Thank you so much. Legend is again saying, yeah, Kaz Amiro was a big miss today. You can see he's truly world class. Gonna just come down a bit. Obviously, Luckhurst, we mentioned his comments, and Stumpy saying Luckhurst was at the game. UK Stranger saying Luckhurst is a leech. Wouldn't take him seriously. We are biting though, aren't we? Tommy had too many chances. Needs to go to a championship quality team. That's where he's at. Apparently, UK Stranger is saying. Matthew Bassett, I'm not going to miss your comment. You're saying the system is only as good as the players implemented it. Some players just don't work in certain systems. That's a very good point. It's Colin again saying we are better with Casemiro. Are we better with Casemiro? He asked the question. He answers it for us. He said yes. However, we should be able to ask anyone of our midfielders to come in and fill the gap when he isn't available. We've got an Arsenal fan in all the way from Canada. That'll be our very own Miss Melina. I'm looking for Mr. B and Omondi. Yes, here we are, Melina. We are here. We're not hiding. And we will say congratulations on your team. Top of the table. Beat us at home. Well done. Good result. And your defense is in trouble. Niketia in the room. Yes, here we go with the banter. And Emma finally. Sorry, go ahead.
Can I touch on this? Miss Melina might even answer this question for me. What is with Arteta being so animated on that sideline? He looked like he'd had a couple of bottles of Lucasade before the game kicked off. He even got himself booked in the 30-something minute. What was that all about? I've never seen him like that. Has he grown into this role? Is this something new from himself? Like when Luke Shaw challenged Saka, I think it was Saka, and he pushed him in the back and Luke Shaw got a yellow card. He was jumping around like his pants were on fire, shouting 4 times, like Luke Shaw had been harassing him for 90 minutes, let alone the 30-odd minutes the game had been going on for.
Just final comment here before we go back to Rebel. Casemiro has a special talent of turning a defensive action into an offensive action with minimal touches and time. That's a beautiful comment. Emma, you got to come on the show one day because I love how you talk football. Rebel, over to you.
Rebel, you're muted, buddy.
There we are again, amateur hour from Rebel. But before I do continue and we kind of sum up our thoughts, FTSN column is saying Arteta must have been drinking Wraith. And for those of you that don't know what Wraith is a powdered energy drink solution. And we on FTSN are partnered with Wraith. So if you would look for a cleaner, healthier energy drink solution, please do go to Wraith and enter FTSN22 for a 10% discount.
We promise you won't look like Arteta afterwards.
But speaking of comments, there's two comments again on Twitter that have just come across my screen. One is, whatever the outcome of the game, that first half shows Ten Hag got his tactics spot on. Manchester United contained Arsenal much better than this tweeter expected. And the second one then is regarding Anthony, who a number of people have been commenting on, is why are people acting like Anthony had a bad game? He completed 3 dribbles today, more than anyone else, and has kept the ball well. It's weird that some people seem to have an agenda on him within our fan base.
Yeah.
People just have to have something to blame. All right.
Yeah.
I said this when Pogba left. Who's next? De Gea, Bruno, Maguire. Who's going to be next? Ronaldo left. Who's going to be the problem? Now all of a sudden it seems to be Anthony. Like, I was sitting in the house watching the game with me pal. All right. And he hasn't got 5 minutes of time for Anthony at the moment. And it's the price tag. It has to be the price tag. Everybody expects magic as soon as he comes in. Like, we were watching El Weghorst, and he made some great challenges. He made 1 or 2 poor mistakes. But I didn't have a problem with that because he's came in on a free. But if he came in for 100 million, it'd be all over the internet. It'd be Darwin Núñez at Liverpool. There'd be comments, there'd be little gifs of him falling over and running into goals. That's all I can put it down to, because in my eyes, he's not doing anything else by growing into a position and a team and a formation and everything that Erik ten Hag requires from him.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. Anthony thing, like, he done that little pirouette on the ball, and the reaction to that was and that still continues today. So if you wanted someone to disrespect him, they might say, all he does is do bottle top spins on the ball or something like that, which is not true. This is something. Look, one thing I have to give him credit for: he gets respect from his defenders. Most certainly, they back off him because they know you dive in with him, he's going to knock it around you, and then you're going to be in. You know. So I think what we need to do is try to utilize him, get the best out of him by understanding how he plays. He squares people up. You need a midfielder to come over to get a little, so he can pop it off to you and give and go sort of thing. Because he hasn't got the pace really. Don't criticize him for this. He hasn't got the pace to really beat defenders if he drives at someone. You know, we've seen that many times now. But what he can do is play little 1-2s, little intricate passes with his teammates and become an advanced wide playmaker. That's what he does. And that's how we need to get the best out of him. And he had a lot of possession today. It's just that sometimes decision-making, like I said earlier, there was a time when he was in the box, it was showtime. You might get one opportunity that in a top level game like this, in the whole game, where it's showtime. You get the ball wide by the halfway line, that's great. But when it's showtime, you have to really go with it, you know? And, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to come with you from a quote from the gaffer, Mr. Erik ten Hag himself. He says, "This game was decided by small details, but also the decision-making. That is hard to accept, and we have to learn from it." Thought on that quote, Monday?
So, yeah, decision-making, that's my thing as well. I think decision-making, first goal, for example, it was De Gea. De Gea decision-making. We missing a big dynamic by playing it out from the back. We tried to put it long. We tried to play it short through De Gea, and his kicking let us down. His decision making, he played it wide to Wan-Bissaka, got closed down. That led to the goal. Decision making again. Rashford getting in on goal. Should have popped it off a couple of times. Same with Anthony as well. We're talking about in midfield, McTominay decision making. If he would have got the ball down, held it up, and brought us into play, we could have kept the ball for another 5 minutes. Decision making again. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there's so many things, fine margins, which change a game, and we can analyze this game for the rest of the week or for the rest of the year. People will be talking about it. You know. I just want to say, my brother Zico Forbes, how you doing, Kahinde? He's saying Wan-Bissaka's marking at the back post is poor. He was at fault for the Arsenal first goal today and City's goal last week. There you go. So as much as people are praising him, as Rebel said earlier, it's about contrast as well. So decision making there for Wan-Bissaka with the goal. He switched off for a couple of seconds, and there you go. That's what at the top level. That's what's going to happen.
Pat, I'm going to come with an Irishman's quote to you, Mr. Roy Keane. He's saying, Manchester United have made progress, but at the end of the game, I look at Luke Shaw still at left back. There are questions about him. Wan-Bissaka, Fred McTominay. It's as if Manchester United had not turned the page on the problems of the past. Is Roy being hard?
On Luke Shaw?
He's gone in on Luke Shaw.
What's he got against Luke Shaw? He done his job, like.
Yep.
Like, I don't know what the problem with Luke Shaw is. Luke Shaw has never looked fitter. He's never looked more agile. He's up and down the pitch. Defensively, look, maybe Roy Keane sees the game differently to how I see it, because the man's played at the highest level for his whole career. But I don't agree with that comment, and I generally always do agree with most things that Roy Keane says. Like, no, that doesn't sit. No, it doesn't sit well with me. I think Luke Shaw's done very well, and if anything, he deserves a bit of applaud.
Absolutely. Just one bit of a stat for you. After the Butcher's goal, Manchester United now have become the team with the most goals scored by Argentinians in the Premier League, standing at 7 goals. So there is your useless fact for the day, lads. So next time you're down the pub quiz, and they're asking who has the most goals by an Argentinian in the Premier League, there you go. There's the answer.
Thank you very much, Rebel.
But lads,
well,
I want.
While you're on that man, Martinez, we have to have an appreciation show about the man. He's the best thing we've had since the Jamba Village came into that team. I think it was Martinelli took a shot towards the end of the game, and the fella has a bandage on his head, and he stuck his head in the way of the shot and deflected the ball away. He headed the ball in for the goal. Like, I just love the man. I just think he's the best thing with Casemiro and Eriksen that's happened to our club. He just brings so much. He brings back the love for Manchester United in his playing style, his attitude, everything. I reckon he just kicks lumps out of people in training and smiles at them, and they all just love it because he's a headbanger.
Absolutely, Pat. And I kind of come up towards, before we start discussing the best players on the pitch and the winner, Erik ten Hag said, today we have to accept we are not satisfied with this defining performance because we can do better. You start well and you have to take the benefit from that situation. It cannot happen that you concede like we did. All 3 goals were mistakes.
Yeah. There's the manager again telling it how it is. We can sit here, we can break it down tactically what went wrong. First goal. I thought that Wan-Bissaka and De Gea's kicking was an issue. He played the ball out to Wan-Bissaka, he was closed down. Maybe he should have hit it long that time. We played it to him, he was closed down early. That was an issue. The goal with Wan-Bissaka at the far post was an issue. Saka with the goal. Earlier, before that phase of play, Eriksen got moved up. He could have kept the ball, but he got moved up physically just as we were trying to clear it. Then it gone over to the Saka's side, and suddenly Saka looks up. He hasn't got Luke Shaw, who played really well, mind you. Roy Keane, you better know that, Roy Keane. You don't get off his back. But I thought Shaw played really well. He, instead of having Shaw up against him, suddenly had Eriksen up against him, and that's why he decided, yeah, it's on, it's showtime. I'm going to drive at you and hit a wicked shot and scored. And obviously, the last goal, we saw what happened there. It was we lost the ball. McTominay earlier, we didn't take our chances when we were in good situations. We couldn't keep the ball. We didn't have someone on there with composure to keep the ball. Bruno was magnificent, by the way, in that respect. Fred comes on the pitch. McTominay's on the pitch. These guys aren't going to do that as good as other players on the pitch, and these are mistakes. And the last goal obviously was a mistake again. We gave the ball away, they kept raining, and suddenly we're in a situation where Trossard's running square, narrow at Wan-Bissaka. He had to go tuck in, and then they played out a ball out. Wan-Bissaka can get there, it's crossed in, and then they scored from it. So the manager's right, 3 mistakes, but then again, you are going to give the ball away. Most goals are mistakes some way if you really break it down. So, we can improve. And I like the manager's comments. I always think he says the right thing.
The Saka goal, Eriksen could have got tighter to him. But then it was a bit, did you not think it was a little bit weak Like, was De Gea in bad positioning for the goal itself?
I don't know. You think Rebel?
I think the two of them are at fault. It wasn't just all Eriksen.
I think it's an interesting point, and I would like to see some views in the comments. But as you mentioned, De Gea, there was two worldies of long range goals, one for each side. And some speculators are saying that keeper's positioning could have been better. So looking at De Gea's positioning that you've identified in that third goal, Pat, was he questionable also in that second goal that Saka scored from range?
No, I don't think he was. I thought his starting position was right. It's just his numbers. There's guys in front of you, so you're looking like that. You set yourself like that, and it's gone in the corner. All right, and it's really difficult to get around there. So by the time he's looking, his guys cut inside. There's numbers in front of him. He's trying to look through people's legs and all that kind of thing, and it's swerved round. This is what I don't mind. As long as it's set up well, I'm cool with that. All right, because then if you score a worldie, which that was a worldie, it's not like Rashford's goal. That was a mistake by them. Partey made a big error trying to play the ball out and got pinched and then suddenly got nuts and we were in on goal and no one closed down Rashford. That's a more mistake than what happened with the goal there. Eriksen stood him up. He took on Eriksen. He swerved it around the goalkeeper. That's a good finish. You got to hold your hands up.
And where did Rashford's goal? Just to go back to Rashford's goal, Roy Keane. Where did that start from? Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw to Bruno. Bruno to Rashford. 1-2 football. Rashford on goal. Boom. Goal. Yeah. So, these are the things that get forgotten about after 90 minutes.
Just one more thing. I just want to say big up to Sid from Spurs. I was watching you earlier from Paxton Road, one of our sister channels. They're the Spurs channel. And they play Fulham tomorrow as well. And that's a tight game. I mean, it's getting tight at the top level football. So big up to Sid as well. And he's saying it's an unfortunate result for us. Obviously, he's on our side today because they're the North London rivals of Arsenal.
Just before we get into man of the match, there's one other element of the game that I would like to touch on. And I think while we all agree that Arsenal are good value for the result and we have no complaints overall, there was an opportunity for Manchester United via Eriksen. There was a lovely ball that slipped through, and maybe if he was that half a yard quicker in reacting, it could have been 3-3. Just thoughts on that moment. Was that a lost opportunity for United to bag a third?
For me, it's a good opportunity that he created in those positions. He's the guy you want in those sort of positions. He was dictating the play. We need more of Eriksen, more on the ball in that respect, because he does help us a lot. Obviously, you might say he's not fast enough, but his other attributes get him there. He's got the mind, the brain, and the understanding about positioning and where he needs to be and what he needs to do with the ball. If he would have got a shot off, it would have been great, because it's unfortunate the goal. I think the defender came across and blocked that. But yeah, a good position to be in that half space, just outside the box. He's a danger.
Yes, indeed. Pat, do you want to add anything, or will we move on to man of the match?
No, move on.
Very good. So, lads and lassies, it is that moment in the show where we need to decide who the best player on the pitch was. And I'm going to start by going for a controversial one and say that it was Saka.
No way. Sorry, I'm being biased if I pick my one, but anyways, I don't care. Bruno Fernandes for me was the best player on that pitch today. He was everywhere. He was everywhere. I mean, everywhere. If we'd have won that game, man, I'd have drove over to Manchester just to throw roses at his feet. He was defensive, the 1-2 football. He was everything. If we had had Casemiro on there today, it would have highlighted how good Bruno Fernandes' performance today was. I was just, I'm not annoyed today, lads. We lost by silly mistakes. We were missing our best midfield. These aren't excuses. This is all positive for me. I'm taking all this away. I'm actually happy with how Manchester United performed today. We got robbed at the end. We've done it to enough teams over the years. So, but Bruno Fernandes, man of the match. I couldn't be happier with the man's performance. He is absolutely amazing at the moment.
For me, best player of the match for Man United is clearly Bruno Fernandes. I watched him in detail today, and I was really impressed with his overall performance. And I'm just going to echo what Pat said. As regards to Arsenal, obviously they're the winning team. They're a good unit. They're well drilled, well oiled. I thought they played really well. Odegaard was good. Saka was good. He drove. He shows how good he is if you can keep pushing someone back and jockeying into the box, because you realise you go out to him, he can just cut you in half. and get away. Even though you know he's going to go his left foot, he would do it time and time again. So Saka and Odegaard were good for Arsenal, but I like Bruno. I'm here to talk about Man United. I like Bruno. Bruno played well.
Sorry for interrupting, Rebel. I never give me Arsenal man the match. It would have to be Odegaard. I just think he's a silky footballer, right? Is that true that when he signed for Real Madrid, they couldn't give him a professional contract, so they made his father a coach of the under-12s in Real Madrid and paid him 12 million a year?
He's only 14, 15, he was 15 years old when it went to Real Madrid. They him up from then, yeah.
But he gave his father a coaching role in the under-12s.
I don't know. I can imagine that being true, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I made me laugh today when I found that. I heard that.
Well, gentlemen, it has been a very pleasant conversation. There are 14 wonderful viewers remaining in the chat, so please do give us a like, share, and subscribe, and let your United friends know where to find us, because we do bring you all the Manchester United news. We will be back tomorrow, possibly a little earlier than normal, given that that Fulham are playing the Spurs at 8 o'clock, I think. Sid will probably be able to correct us on that if I'm wrong. Then Tuesday, Andy Tate is returning to the channel to bring us a preview for upcoming game against Nottingham Forest in the League Cup. It will be cup football, will be on our minds for the next couple of games. So stay with us for everything Manchester United here on the Man United agenda. But my thanks to OMONDI, Obi-Wan Kenobi Juma, and Pat Yoda Lawless for joining me today. But from us, a very good night, and we'll see you again soon.